You're standing in the parking lot of a luxury dealership and the salesman won't look at you. You're wearing a faded grey hoodie, jeans with a small hole near the knee, and sneakers that cost $11 3 years ago. Beside you, a man in a crisp blue blazer and a watch that catches the light gets a handshake, a bottle of water, and a business card. You get nothing. And here's the part that would break most people's brains if they knew it. You have $400,000 sitting in an account you could tap into today, and that man in the blazer is financing his lifestyle on a credit line he's terrified of. You look poor. He looks rich. And the entire game is quietly bending in your favor. Let me tell you how you got here, because you didn't start out understanding this. Nobody does. Rewind 8 years. You're 26, you just got your first real raise, and the number hits your account and something changes in your chest. Suddenly, the old car feels embarrassing. The apartment feels small. You walk past a store window and the version of you reflected in the glass looks, well, like someone who hasn't made it yet. So you fix it. You lease the car with the leather seats. You buy the watch that tells everyone you're doing fine. You pick up the tab at dinner because it feels good to be the person who picks up the tab. And for a while, it works. People treat you differently. The world leans in. You feel seen. Here's the thing. Nobody tells you at 26. That feeling of being seen is the most expensive drug on the market, and you just signed up for the subscription. Because every single one of those upgrades came with a monthly leash. The car is $600 a month. The apartment is $200 more than the old one. The watch went on a card you swore you'd pay off in 3 months, and it's still there, 11 months later, quietly charging you 24% for the privilege of impressing strangers who forgot about it the next day. You did the math one night, half past midnight, staring at your phone, and the number that came out the other side made your stomach drop. You weren't building anything. You were renting the appearance of wealth from people who were happy to lend it to you forever, as long as you kept paying. That's the first rule they don't hand you on the way in. Looking rich and being rich are not the same game. They're not even played on the same board. One is about what other people see. The other is about what you own when nobody's looking. And most people spend their entire lives confusing the two, pouring real money into fake signals, and wondering why the wealth never actually arrives. So let's talk about the levels, because there are levels, and knowing which one you're standing on changes everything. Level 1 is the person who's genuinely broke and looks broke. No costume, no confusion. Fine. Level 2, and this is where most people get trapped, is the person who's broke or barely afloat but spends everything they have looking rich. The leased car, the designer belt, the vacation photos in a hotel they can't afford. This is the most dangerous level of all, because it feels like winning. Everyone treats you like you've made it, and that treatment becomes a cage. You can't downgrade the car now, people would notice. You can't cook at home, your friends expect the restaurant. You built an identity out of appearances, and now the appearances own you. Level 3 is where the interesting shift begins. This is the person with real money who still looks rich, and honestly, plenty of them stay here forever. The big house, the visible logos, the whole display. It's not fake for them, they can afford it, but they're paying a tax they don't even see. They're a target. For salesmen, for lawsuits, for the cousin who needs a loan, for the friend who assumes you'll cover it. Every visible dollar is an invitation for someone to try and separate you from it. And then there's the level almost nobody talks about, the one you eventually clawed your way toward. The person with serious money who looks completely ordinary. Boring even. The hoodie. The old reliable car with 200,000 miles that runs like a dream. The watch that just tells time. This isn't about being cheap. Cheap is refusing to spend on things that matter. This is something colder and smarter. This is understanding that invisibility is a form of power, and that every eye you don't attract is a threat you never have to defend against. Because here's what happened. Once you started looking poor on purpose, the pressure lifted. Nobody expected anything from you, so nobody was disappointed. Nobody assumed you had money, so nobody came asking for it. You stopped performing wealth for an audience that was never going to pay you back, and you started quietly accumulating the real thing. The money you weren't spending on the costume went into accounts that grew while you slept. And the strangest part, the part that took you the longest to accept, is that you didn't miss the attention at all. You'd thought it was the point. It was just the bill. But there's a deeper layer to this, one you didn't see until money got involved in a way you never expected. It happened at a family dinner. Your uncle, the one who always drove the newest truck and always had a story about a deal that was just about to close, leaned across the table and asked you, half joking, if you could float him $12,000. Just for a few months. And the way he asked told you everything. He didn't ask the cousin in the blazer. He didn't ask the loud one with the boat. He asked them for nothing, because they looked like they were already stretched, already spent, already performing. He asked you because he'd watched you your whole life and decided you had nothing to give. He was wrong by a factor of about 30. And in that moment, you understood the real gift of looking poor. It's not just that people don't take from you. It's that people stop measuring you at all. You slip below the radar entirely, and below the radar is where the free man lives. You said no gently. You told him money was tight, and it cost you nothing because the story matched the costume. Try saying money is tight while wearing a $40,000 watch. Nobody believes you. You'd have written the check just to protect the lie. That's the trap of level 3, the trap of looking rich even when you are rich. Your appearance writes checks. Your boundaries have to cash. Now think about the small negotiations that fill an ordinary life and how the costume touches every one of them. You take the old car to the mechanic in your faded hoodie and the quote comes back honest because he sees a guy who counts his dollars. Your neighbor rolls up in the leased German sedan wearing loafers with no socks, and somehow his identical repair costs $300 more. The mechanic isn't cruel, he's a mirror. He reflects back exactly what you show him. Show him wealth, and he prices your wealth. Show him nothing, and he prices the job. It works at scale too. The wealthiest people you'll ever meet, the ones with the family offices and the quiet compounds, they don't dress like the magazines. They dress like they're about to mow a lawn. The billionaire in the fleece vest isn't being humble. He learned the same lesson you learned in that dealership parking lot, just with more zeros. Visibility is a liability. The moment the world knows the size of your pile, the world reorganizes itself to get a piece of it. So the truly powerful hide the pile. They let the pretenders wear the crowns and absorb the attention, the envy, the lawsuits, the requests. They stay boring on purpose, and boring is bulletproof. But I want to be honest with you, because this only works if you understand what it's actually for. Looking poor is not a personality. It's not a vow of misery. The whole point of the invisible pile is that it can become anything you want, quietly, on your terms. You can fly your family somewhere beautiful, and nobody at home has to know. You can help the people who genuinely need it, chosen by you, not extracted by pressure. You can walk away from a job that grinds you down because you have 2 years of expenses sitting in an account nobody can see. Real wealth doesn't announce itself. It just says no when it wants to, and yes when it means it. And it never has to explain either one. There's a freedom in that so complete it almost feels like cheating. You stop caring what the salesman thinks. You stop needing the stranger to lean in. The approval you once bought at 24% interest turns out to be worthless anyway because it evaporates the second you can't pay for it. What you have instead is quieter and it lasts. You have options. And options are the only luxury that never depreciates. So here's where you land. 8 years and one changed mind later. You know the difference now between the signal and the substance, and you'll never confuse them again. You let people underestimate you, and you count it as a win every single time, because every person who assumes you have nothing is a person who will never try to take anything. Which brings you back to that parking lot. The salesman is still ignoring you, still orbiting the man in the blue blazer, still handing him water and his best smile. And you feel something that isn't anger and isn't envy. It's closer to peace because you know the blazer is financed. You know the watch is a payment. You know the handshake is a hook. And you know that when you walk inside, pull up the account nobody can see and pay the full price without blinking, the smile will change fast and it will change completely. But you also know you don't even need to. You could get in your 11-year-old car with its faded seats and drive home to a life that owes nobody an explanation. And you'd be richer leaving than the man in the blazer will be walking in. Looking poor was never about the money. It was about who gets to hold the leash. And you finally cut yours. Let them keep looking. You'll keep owning.